Hello, welcome back to Sapling Tarot. My name is Imogen, and today we're here with another episode of our series, The Cards Were Dealt, talking about tarot and neurodivergence. This time it is with the lovely Cara from Pagan Crafting here on YouTube.
Okay, I'm Cara. I'm from Pagan Crafting. I also have another channel, a tarot channel, Absolute Tarot, and I haven't been active on that one in 2 years, but I still keep it open because I have a lot of fun videos and business videos on tarot and growing your tarot business. But I'm totally active every few days, almost daily in my community with Pagan Crafting. And that one, it went from I'm just going to do art magic. Now it's from foraging to divination to tarot to you name it, to green witchery, little shamanism. And I try to combine it all to do with crafting or art in some way, bringing in the childlike spirit and just some easy beginner, intermediate, some fun stuff and some fun spells that I like to do. On my channel.
It's gorgeous. I love the kind of things that you put together in that. The crafting side of the craft is just, I think that's something that a lot of people find really, I don't know, just kind of the meditative quality of crafting, and it's quite a grounding practice, I think, to be able to make something tangible, whereas things can feel quite kind of airy and all like in your mind, but if you can do something with your hands.
And collecting it from nature and bringing it in. Getting free stuff from nature.
Absolutely. So how do you, in terms of like neurodivergence and things, how do you identify? Do you have any labels that you like? It's fine if you don't.
Well, I just I'm very late diagnosed. I knew I had dyslexia my whole life. Well, since about grade 3. High IQ, high comprehension, but just normal life, sometimes some social. It just wasn't of this. I knew I was a little different when I was younger. Diagnosed with ADHD only, I think, 6-7 years ago. And then they said, you're not ADHD, you're bipolar, which was 98% the same. But I don't get manic, I don't get moody, I don't have ups and downs, I don't get in the pit. I just get really hyper and I get a lot of stuff done. It's hyper focused. Is that not ADHD? So all the above, and then hit mental pause, and then estrogen levels drop. So that also can affect bipolar too. It can affect ADHD. So I have all three, but I have a different doctor saying I have something different.
Helpful, really helpful.
Yeah. So my craft keeps me grounded.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I had the same experience with my autism diagnosis, where it's like, it was a diagnosis, but then in the time it had taken for me to get my diagnosis, the service that did it shrunk to just being a diagnostic service. So when I started, they had kind of treatments and therapists and groups and activities and all of these sorts of things. But in the 2.5 years it took for my diagnosis to happen, that had just all disappeared. And so it was just like, you're autistic, congrats, good luck.
Great, see you later.
Bye.
Yeah.
And so for
me, it was like, here's some drugs. You got your answer. They were just trying to find out if I was bipolar or ADHD, and the doctor, and all I had to do was fill out forms and check things off for 2 hours.
Super ADHD friendly, right? All the paperwork. I think it's really helpful for the diagnostic process. Yeah, I've had a family member go through that recently, and it's like the sheer number of forms that they had to go through. You're just like, well, from what we know of ADHD, does this feel like the right thing to be giving someone with ADHD to do?
And I'm NFJ, so I'm on one spectrum or the other. There's no in between. So everything when I check off, it's like absolutely disagree or absolutely agree. There was not, so it was just they didn't know if I was just pissing around on the forms or not. I'm like, no, that's my personality. It's all nothing.
No, I get that. Gosh. Oh, it's so helpful, isn't it? So which came first, tarot or your kind of understanding of your neurodivergence?
Oh, tarot first. Tarot, yeah, I had no idea.
So how did you come to tarot?
I had tarot cards since I was in my 20s, and I still have my first deck here. And I had to retire it because the pieces some of the cards were starting to split. I'm like, I better keep it just for special readings now. And And so I got another Rider-Waite deck, and I was using that as I actually write, this is a one deck that I don't mind writing on. So I'd write the meanings of what the symbols were, and that was my training deck. And it was just something to fart around with at first. And then I like reading, I like using divination. And then a friend of mine, I found out she was into cards. So we started reading back and forth, and then we're watching more YouTube videos. I'm like, I can do this. This is fun. COVID hit, started a channel, and just had a blast. But I got burnt out because we were reading so much, and I was doing private readings too. So I opened up an Etsy store, and that helped me through COVID when there was no work.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're alone in that, in terms of that being kind of when people started to reconnect with these practices that maybe they'd done like a little bit of for a number of years, and then sort of, yeah, it was finding these other skills that we all have and trying to, you know, build community and find ways to work around what we ended up with. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We have to find something on the side to do for mental health as well as income.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a big help for a lot of people in you know, so many different directions. And yeah, no, that's really cool. Do you think your neurodivergence kind of affected how you came to tarot and like how you learned it?
Oh, for sure. Because I didn't want to memorize the meanings. Even if I had a cheat sheet card, like how fast can you scan the card to try to read it out during the reading? I used my art side, I used my right brain side, and I learned all about the symbolism. And I made a journal book on like what all the different water meanings, what all the color means, all the clouds meaning. So some of them I looked up if I couldn't find it online. Intuitively, what does it mean to me? And each card is going to mean something a little different to someone else too. So I started using this certain cards would come up and like, this means soulmates. It doesn't mean innocence, nostalgia for me, you know, like the six of cups or something. To me, that's a soulmate card. It's an old friendship card. And so I made a book, and it was all about the symbolism and what the different planets mean, what the different suits mean. And I learned that. So I just did a art journal, and I wish I should.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that's such a resource, but also like what a great way to learn. Because I think, you know, there's so many different ways.
It was all about objects in color instead. And I just used the old Rider-Waite. And once you learn the Rider-Waite, then you have a feel for it. Then you can get into ones that are pictures or symbolism too. It's what your take is.
I think that's such a great method because I get really stuck when people ask me kind of how do you learn tarot, because I think people get caught up in like the idea of it being like 78 flashcards, and I'm like, that's not.
It was so hard to learn the meaning of each. So like I learned the majors later, but with the minors it was easier because there's swords, wands, cups, and pentacles, and each one has 3 astrology symbols assigned to each. So I'm like, okay, if I get a cup, that's going to be a Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio. So what energy or what astrology sign do I want to pull from that card? So knowing my astrology, I was able to bring that in that way. And then I noticed like the Knight of Swords, he's coming in so fast, and even like the clouds are going fast behind him, like faster energy. And then yet the cups are going to be a little bit more slow, a little bit more mellow. And then the earth is going to be grounding. That knight, he's just still. He's just standing there. His horse doesn't even have a leg up, nothing. He's in one spot. So I started reading the energy of the cards like pictures.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And it was fun. Like
yeah, absolutely. I think that would be such a valuable way for loads of people to approach learning tarot, because like I can't really remember how I learned, but that's such a good, because that uses so many different skills and so many parts of your brain. It's not just kind of doing it by rote, like it. And I think that activates parts of your brain in terms of your ability to pull like patterns and your own life experiences into it if you're doing your own associations with colors and clouds.
Well, when you get the messages come in, colors, when you get the messages come in, you're like, hey, how do I describe this? Sometimes they're pictures from spirit, or sometimes they're pictures from their guides trying to show you answers. So you have, like you said, you got to like, okay, I got to use my own life experience to explain what I'm trying to tell you.
And like the weather as well. I always think the weather in the Smith-Waite is fascinating, and like because it was drawn like not that far away from where I've lived, but you have similar weather in Canada, different for like,
Yes.
peers that are learning in like Florida or something, the weather's probably a little bit different, but like I've seen those clouds. I know what that environment feels like. So like the Page of Pentacles or something, I've stood on
Mm.
that hill, I've been there in that breeze, I've felt it, and so you can attach all your own meanings to it, and I think that's way easier to remember stuff if you have all of those connections in with it. I think that's gorgeous. I love the idea of the art journal for it. I think that's gorgeous.
Yeah, it was easier way to learn.
Yeah.
But then you're bringing in color correspondence. That's the
Yeah.
witch in me, bringing in color correspondence with each and stuff too, and coloring it in.
No,
And
that's gorgeous.
I went just because I got, you got ADHD, so you're going to hyper focus. So I even went as far as I got a coloring book published of the Rider-Waite deck. I did a line drawing of each one, and then I put the meaning behind and put a thing out on Amazon for a coloring book for Rider-Waite. So as you're coloring, you're noticing like it wasn't until I did the outline I'm like, I had no idea that tree had this weird
Yeah.
pelican thing flying out of the tree. That's the star
Yeah.
card, I think, has a pelican coming out of the tree. Why?
It's great. Or like there's like a little snail in like the
Yeah.
Seven of Pentacles, and like you see those little, when you're really like noticing the colours and the little details and stuff, and that's I think where you like there's so many cues in the images for what the meanings can be. And so yeah, if you can,
And that's what I like
that's
to teach.
beautiful.
I made a whole course of teaching it this way, of neurodivergent by colors, objects, symbolism in the cards, and none of it was done by memory. So I promised by the end of the course you'd know your tarot cards. And I saved it on a hard drive, and the hard drive fell in the cord, and it's in there. I was actually manic for 2 weeks during COVID time, and I wrote a course, and I wrote a book, and I did like, and I this course there's so many pictures. Like I made all the pictures on Canva. There's so many. It's so cool. It's done mainly. There's hardly anything to read, so we can just go by our pictures and just like reading comic books. It tells you everything about it, and it's on the hard. I have to. They said yes, we can get everything off. I'm like, but what do you put it on that I can get it? So I'm not quite trusting them yet to take it. If they screw it up, I've lost it. And it was during a manic, so 2 weeks of work could have been that's a year's worth in a
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you say
manic
it's two
time.
weeks, but like
When
in
I was,
kind of average terms, that's like a decade's worth of work for a lot of
that's
people.
almost a year. When you're not manic and you're not sleeping and all these ideas
Yeah.
are coming, you got to channel it and use it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's that kind of blessing curse element of a lot of neurodivergence, is that like to some people that would sound amazing, and to other people they're like, that sounds terrifying. And then it's kind of, you've got to sort of navigate that middle ground of it.
Yeah. You just sleep. You got to remember to eat. I used to set timers because I wouldn't eat properly. I would tell you get the pee
Oh my
pains, you
gosh,
got to go to
yeah.
the bathroom when you're hyper. But I didn't mind. I would get away with not sleeping. My daughter she gets quieter around me. She goes, I said, not that I don't interrupt. It's not like you ignore me. I just know you're so focused and you're very, very happy with what you're doing. So it's just too. So she understands too. She lets me I make little stations because, well, especially if I'm crafting or painting, it doesn't dry fast enough. So I'm actually doing like 5 things at once most of
Yeah,
the time.
absolutely. No, I live with other neurodivergent people as well, and it's that when people are kind of in that zone, it's like, yeah, it's not rude. I'm just going to not talk to you because it will be like talking to a brick wall. Like, it doesn't make it,
No,
it's not a
mean
good
it.
time for either of
Yeah.
us if I'm interrupting you.
Yeah. And hours go by. The time difference is different too. The time
Yeah,
appreciation is
absolutely.
different. Would be a few hours to them is just like, oh, it's only been a few minutes. I was just down here heating up my tea
Yeah,
for the fifth
yeah,
time.
absolutely. Absolutely that. Like, how is it cold again? I only just did this. I said I
Right?
only just peed. What are
I
you on
know.
about? Why do I have to go again 4 hours later?
Again,
Like the
right?
rage as well. It's like, ah, damn this human form.
Stop. Damn this human form. Damn this human form. That should be the title.
Well, I'm glad you well, am I glad you relate? It's one of those funny things. It's like, it's nice to know you're not alone with these experiences, but also you're like kind of, would I wish this on
Yeah,
anyone else? It's super weird, but it's fun.
I know.
So it's good. Like, I don't think, if someone gave me a button to switch it all off, I don't think I'd press it. I don't think I would.
I don't think I could either because I like it when it happens. Sometimes it's annoying when, like, there's times where when I was out of work and then it hit me. So maybe the stress and maybe triggered it, but I absolutely enjoyed it. Like, I had the time to just let it
Yeah.
fly and just create stuff. It was
Yeah, I
awesome.
feel that.
But it could be a negative when you're going manic for some people too. And it's hard to sometimes know you're in it. It takes a while. Sometimes I have a friend of mine said she can feel hers coming on and she'll warn everybody. She can feel it almost a week before coming on and she'll warn people at work. And I was like, oh, I don't know I'm in it until my daughter mentions something or till I'm done. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't slept for 2 days. I'm probably a little hyperfixating.
Well, that would be amazing to have that kind of like early warning system.
I've never had that. I've tried taking notes one year. I tried and see if I could see any changes. I even like tried to line it with the moons and stuff. No, there was I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell till I was in it.
There's no real way of predicting what's going to catch, because it feels like it's kind of being grabbed by something. For me, anyway, that kind of hyper focus is like, I have no way of predicting what's going to do that. And like, that's kind of how I ended up
No,
in
me
like
neither.
astrology land. Was like, I had no previous knowledge, but I think I had a therapist who vaguely mentioned like chakras to me in a session. And then I went and I researched that, and then I fell down a rabbit hole into astrology. And then it's like 10 years later, and I've got like fucking astrology tattoos and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know how it happened. It grabbed me and it never let go. Like, it's part of my brain now. It's how I see the world. But like, if you'd asked me kind of 6 months before, like, oh, are you interested in astrology? I would have been like, like horoscopes? What? And now it's just like, it's part of my brain. It's how I experience everything.
Do you use it a lot with your tarot
Yeah, I
cards
think
then?
like you were saying about the correspondences and stuff. Yeah,
Archetypes with it.
absolutely. And that kind of the linking together of like the elements and the kind of, the archetypes, like the personalities of different cards and things because of their like
Mm-hmm.
astrological. My memory's I struggle a bit with my memory, and so it's much more of like a felt sense than like I can definitely tell you that like that card means like Mars in Scorpio or something. Like, I can do the majors, but like
Yeah.
beyond that, I can't keep it in my brain. But like, I can tell you like a felt sense of this feels like this card, or it helps with
Yeah.
my understanding of it. Like, all of these layers into it, it helps me remember stuff.
I did. I have to show you one of my earlier cheat
Oh, that's
cards.
so good.
So I did it. So I did it all by the colors. Anytime, but before I could memorize what all the astrology signs were in each suit, I had them by color. And then with these ones where I try to memorize by because all the majors have a planet and an astrology, not each, but both. So I was you're trying to read like the emperor is Aries or something. I'm like, okay, I'm an Aries. I can figure that out. What kind of qualities? Impatient, excitable, leadership, pioneer. Then you try to bring it in that way. But yeah, I didn't like the memory part of having to memorize the cards. It intimidated me.
Yeah, me too. I think like when I kind of started learning tarot like properly, so like I had a deck that I worked with for like the first 10 or so years of reading, but it wasn't like a classic deck. It was some random one that like my next door neighbor had given me. And then I was like, right, I'm going to learn the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I'm going to know proper tarot. And I was like, oh fuck, I don't know how I'm going to remember all of these.
I got my first oracle deck was a goddess oracle, and I had no idea how to use it or lay it down or read it. And it wasn't until I started my channel, I'm just going to grab some oracle and lay them on the tarot.
Oh, I love that.
So then it was like a backup or a secondary answer, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Then I got into like tons of oracle, and then I was selling decks on my Etsy store too. So I was buying lots of different decks, and I didn't know. And I bought one order from I was Alibaba, and I was just like, I bought one of each deck that I was thinking about selling. And I want to open it and have a look at it. Well, they were all
Yeah.
knockoffs. So I have a lot of knockoffs, but I did want to sell them in my store. I'm like, that's not cool, because that's someone's love that they put into that.
Yeah, no, that's one of my. It's like obviously like knockoffs are everywhere, but the most of my deck collection is secondhand. Like I found them on eBay or kind of secondhand sellers and stuff because like money and stuff. But so like but the places where I've historically always bought my decks have got so flooded with knockoffs recently that I've had to be like, I can't do this anymore. And it's really sad because I love them so much, but I don't want to be getting burnt by knockoffs because it's just really sad, and they don't feel right once you've kind of clocked it. You're just like, I don't know what to do with this now. But they make great like craft supplies.
I actually made two of my own decks too during COVID time too. This one's Whispers of the Moon, and it'll have all the
amazing,
the harvest moon, the February moons, and then I have used each moon. I use the Celtic astrology. So then I have the meaning of the Celtic astrology, then what that looks like, and for December. And then I have Earth, Air, Fire, Water moons. And then I have Modern Witches first. And then I have 3 or 4 different colors of moons, and each one will be Modern Witches. Oh, there's another one, Holly August. Then the Hunter's Moon, and you pull. So they're like oracle cards. I never made a book with it. And I had only one lady said it never came with a book. And I'm like, I just wanted to get the cards out. And then I did this one's a lot bigger. The size of it was about 100 cards. And it's called Whispers of Romance. And you lay out the cards and you ask a question. And when you lay out the cards, it says a sentence for you. Anything from, I fear you don't want me, I feel insecure, to you are my favorite mistake. That's a Sheryl Crow song.
Amazing.
Our bond is strong and deep, my love. But yeah, so when you ask a question comes out, and I sold so many of these, I had so much fun. And the deck they were expensive to make, so I did charge a little bit more for them. But I'm working on another deck for shadow work, but with animals. Using animal totems of all the different animals people are scared of. So I'm doing the illustration, the artwork, and I've decorated each animal with like beads and jewels and stuff coming to, like a spider will have, it's made out of a giant gem, then the legs. So I'm trying to make everything beautiful for your shadow work. And my friend of mine, Star's writing them up, doing the write-up for them, and we're making a booklet.
That's so exciting.
We were just going to do it as a fun collab, and I'm like, let's keep taking this. Let's wait till the new year. Let's take this all the way and get some cards made up instead of just downloads, PDF downloads.
Oh, that's lovely. Like I like the idea of the animals that people find scary. I think that there's a lot of cool for that. I think of a lot of people trying to kind of return to more kind of earth-based ways of thinking and kind of needing to overcome those sorts of icks and fears of the natural world.
Because there's spiders that carry all their babies. You could think about that in shadow work. That's carrying all their little ones. And we don't know that. We just see them and want to squish it.
Oh, it's such an amazing idea. I'm so excited for that. I'll be waiting with bated breath to see what you do with it. That's so exciting.
We're going to do a video each to kind of present it, and then we're thinking it might turn into like 3 to 4 videos, and then the last one we're going to show the cards. We might do one of those crowd funds, so then we can, once we get a certain amount of people, then we'll print the cards.
That's a really good idea. I know loads of people who'd be really excited about that as well. So that's very cool. I love that.
Shadow work with animal totems,
That's lovely.
Especially this time of the year.
I was going to say it's nice to have kind of company on the shadow work journey, to have some little animal pals doing it. That would be but you're right, particularly at this time of year. I think that sort of darker side of things is quite welcoming at the moment. So that's a lovely idea. Do you feel that tarot helps you better understand your neurodivergentness Neurodivergence, that's the word. So like the way your brain works and things.
Yeah, it seems to compute with my brain. It matches quite nicely. A lot of divination methods, especially tarot, especially oracle, and I read bones too. So I got into I tried charms and runes and everything, but bones are these ones that I made are so cool, and I like it because again, it can, depending how they lay, depending which ones it is, same as the cards, it can tell a story. So that's why I like that. But with tarot, I was watching this one. I remember his name is Tarot Reader, but as soon as he said, look at it like a movie
That's
strip.
such a good point.
It's like, why is the queen looking this way? Well, there's another knight facing her. Are they having a conversation, or is he turning his back on her where she's trying to talk to him? So it's
that's how I read, like the stories of it is what gets me really excited, and the kind of reading it like a narrative and stuff. So I'm just like, yes, I see you. Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I love readings like that.
I hadn't thought
That's
of it
cool.
like a movie strip, but that's really fun. I like that. I can totally see it as well.
Like the old kind with just the black with the white dots. The movie projectors.
That's perfect. Well, someone must have done that, like a deck that you could position like that, and it's got like the top and the bottom. That would be so good.
There's an idea. We need to do a neurodivergent deck.
That would be so good. I'm just like, I could feel my brain like disappearing off down a rabbit hole, and I'm just like pulling it.
No, we're going now. We're like, oh shit, we're on live. Okay, we have to remember. We were just designing.
Just like, we're having a creative meeting all of a sudden. Pull it back in. Rein it in, Imogen. Come on.
Okay. Another time. Oh,
it's so good though. It's like those kind of brain sparkles and the brain tingles where you're like, oh, that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff. In terms of your like ADHD, how do you feel, and the kind of the manic or kind of bipolar and stuff, do you feel like that kind of interacts with your intuition? Do you think they are kind of one and the same?
Yeah, I think one of the same. I really, really, really have all my life tried to open up my clairs, my clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience. And I watched this one lady on YouTube, and she did this meditative way to expand your clairs, all of them in one meditative thing. And it was just all about visions. Like she had you, I gotta tell you this, she had you walking in a park, and then she's like, a bike's going by. What did you just hear? And I did hear a little ding, ding. So she goes, that's your clair. You're hearing more. You're hearing stuff on different levels. You're opening up. And I found using the intuition with the cards, with my ADHD, it was just different ways. Like we have a higher comprehension level, but sometimes our social level isn't the same. So I was able to imagine things a little bit easier and better. Again, just using what I watched with that one video with the guided meditation and she just used photos. Now let's look at this. It's the back of a girl's dress. Now she's looking over you and I'm like, oh my God, I just saw her head turn, but the picture hadn't changed. But you're just using different senses, opening up your different senses, and just by a still picture. It was really
please do. I'm just like, that's incredible. But it was interesting when you were saying it about like kind of a bike goes past, and then you said, and then you heard a noise, and I was like, I did hear a noise.
Yeah, because you're imagining it might be the sound of the tires,
I
heard a bell.
Like before you'd even said it, I'd heard like a ting ting go past me on my left.
Coming by. Yeah. Me too. It was off my left when she was saying it too. That's cool.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Yeah, because I think like I know quite a lot of, we cluster, don't we, in our lives? Like, so I know quite a lot of neurodivergent people, and the question of intuition comes up quite a lot because I think it's such a kind of a felt sense that putting a word on it is quite challenging. And so I know people who don't think they have intuition because they can they can see the process of how they get to their kind of gut reactions and stuff. If they're like, well, it's not intuition because it's because of this thing that happened and like the pattern that I recognized. And I'm like, but that kind of is intuition, is that, taking all of this stuff that you have in you, and then, but just because you can see kind of the magic happening doesn't mean it's not magic. And so it's really nice that you feel that that they're linked, and that, like you say, that kind of that level of processing that's happening that you can.
Well, we process things differently too, and we have to read humans differently than other people. And a lot of times when we can read micro body language better than other people, we're like, oh, shut up, Cara, look at their face. Stop, you're oversharing. Well, you can see them, you can see their face. So we learn to process and tap into, I think, different intuition, different abilities, different micro body languages. We have to pay attention.
Do you have any kind of rituals or practices that help you connect with your tarot in a way that better suits your needs? So like whether that's like sensory needs, like some people have real opinions about like cardstock, or I always notice the smell of decks, and that's something that apparently isn't normal for me to be like, oh, it smells really bad, oh, it smells really good, and people are just like, you what?
One of your clairsentient.
That would be.
You're smelling the energies. Depending, does it affect you up
like,
in here?
I'm a migraine person, so like smells like I'm dead to the world if I smell like someone walks past, or like, you know, not even like a person, but like, you know, something moves past and I get a smell and I'm just like, oh, that's me, because I get visual migraine, so like my peripheral vision just like, it's gone.
I used to get those when I was younger. Then I got the tragus
I've
piercing.
heard about that, yeah.
And I haven't had a migraine since I was probably 32, 31,
I need
20 years.
I need to look into that. My body doesn't react great to piercings, but yeah.
I got it because I disliked it, and I didn't. And then someone says, did you get it because you have migraines? I'm like, I haven't had one in years. And then I thought, and I started like, because I used to get corneal migraines, same thing too, and it used to affect my peripheral vision and squeeze my eyeball.
Yeah, it's horrible.
So that I feel that maybe it's the metal.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just like nothing has ever fully kind of healed properly. So maybe.
Yeah, it's the metal. I'm an ex-tattoo artist, and I had pierced. Yeah. I'm a retired master artist, and that sounds like a metal problem. You're having a reaction to the metal. I have to figure out
what metals it's been then, and if there's one I haven't tried.
Yeah, my Sammy cat here.
It's good to have a little friend.
Yeah. He's purring, but he's not close enough. Can't reach him.
So yeah, sorry, I just ended up like talking over that. So do you have any kind of rituals or practices with your like sensory things?
I guess more so before I start a reading. I have, especially if I'm doing a private reading for someone, this residual energy in the cards, I do have quite a little ritual. And then I have my favorite decks, but then I turn and I start thinking about the person. So then I start picking what I think they need, and I'll have extra decks. I may not pull from them all, but then I'm like, oh, right, then I knew it. They need this one, or they need to hear this message. And I have lots of stones that I use too. So I also pick different crystals. And again, I think about the person, and it's funny, right in the middle of a reading, and the next thing I'm grabbing for the cat's eye. I'm like, now I know I just grabbed this because of blah, 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 blah. And I'll give my reading with the crystal and the cards together too. If I'm doing... the reading I used to do is called Hello from Heaven. So we tap into someone that passed away, loved one. And but I have to, before I start the reading, I have to meditate first. I go up to my special garden. I have a huge oak door, and I open up the door and I invite that person in. I meet with them first and ask them questions. And then I do the tarot reading. And then, so then that way they feel comfortable with me too. And sometimes they don't want to talk to me. So I have to find out if I'm going to do a general tarot reading, or if I get to tap in and do a mediumship tarot reading too. So lots of different rituals to set the tone of my space and protect my space too.
That's beautiful.
But once I invite them into my garden, then it's always got a protective bubble there.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I like that with the intuitive picking of decks and crystals and everything. I tend to only really have one deck that I use for professional readings, but I like the idea of the intuitive thing. I might try that for when I'm doing ones at home. I love your setup as well, having them all just there, so you can kind of hover your hands over them. Beautiful.
Because sometimes you might just grab one card and you're like, and just see if you get a popper or something. If one pops out, and like, okay, that's why. And sometimes I don't even touch the rest. Or next thing, I switch to another deck too. But I don't have it up here. I call it my backwards deck. It's actually the what you see behind on the
Oh, I've
rider weight
seen that
deck. It's
one.
one of
That's
my
so
favorite
cool.
decks.
Yeah. That's such a clever thought.
You got to get that one. Yeah, it gives you more story that you can work with
Yeah,
too.
because it gives you that kind of 360 view of the whole scene. Because if you know what's on the front of the card, but then you get to that whole, like, what's going
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
So used to the picture of the front, and then the back deck house. I think I have it downstairs. I was using it. Even I did a reading before this.
Oh,
I met with you. How's it going to
what
go?
did they say?
I got the Tower card in
Jeez.
reverse.
Okay.
I got peace after trouble. I got the Sun card for my
Oh,
outcome, so
lovely.
success. And what did I get for my first card? Oh, I got is it Eight of Swords, the one with the lady blindfolded?
Yeah.
Okay, I got her as the first one. So I took that as I'm like, just go in and don't even think about the questions. Just go in blindfolded. Just go in and
Yeah.
just have some
Oh, I
fun.
like that. I think that's a good way to approach these sorts of things as well. Some people, it's been interesting, like, talking to different people with, like, different flavors of kind of neurodivergence, is that some people have, like, they've got the documents and they've made notes and they're ready for the things, and there's some people that are like, I've not even looked at the questions, and then, like, kind of everything in between, and people that are just, like, happy to have a bit of a chat with me, other people who are like kind of question, and I like both. I like all of it. It's just kind of interesting to get to chat to folk and to sort of feel through this kind of space with someone who because we already know that we agree on, and kind of,
Questions.
we have we have like a shared experience that we're coming together on. So there's nothing provocative or kind of combative about it, and so it's just that collaborative thing, and it's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Well, I went over the questions, so I still had the flavor and the theme, and then I was just, and then I watched your other videos, and you're very free flowing. So it'll go into sometimes some other questions, and you come back to questions. Sometimes you go a different direction. So I'm like, sweet.
Yeah, well, it's really lovely. So what do you wish someone had told you when you were first diagnosed?
Do some research. I wish someone gave me some tools instead of just drugs.
Right.
For my health wise, for the stuff I was putting in my system. Like, one of my best friends, his girlfriend didn't like me, and I'm like, but everybody likes me. And she was like, you interrupt too much and you talk too much. I'm like, I'm just really excitable. I'm an Aries. No, I was just, but she was so interesting to talk to that I was over talking accidentally. And I was around other people online. I made some online friends during COVID times, and they're very ADHD, and they're also from back where I'm from Vancouver Island. It's right above Seattle, kind of near west coast of Canada. And just the flavor of the people, we talk at the same time, just islanders. And so I was used to doing that, and that upset some people.
Yeah, that's challenging. Because, if people then think that that's like a personality flaw rather than like a communication difference, like that can sort of hurt to be told, like, or like, you interrupt too much,
Yeah.
therefore you don't care what I'm saying. It's like, no, I really care. I'm just really excited. And that's how I express it. And it's like, seems to be constantly kind of an online argument going on about whether or not it's polite to, if someone is sharing an experience, whether or not you should then offer if you've experienced something similar. And some people are like, that's so rude. And I'm just like, that is how I communicate, my love.
That's how I communicate. And I lost some friends because they said, you're just trying to sound better than me, or you're just trying to have the same experience and you're not letting me have my thunder. And I'm like, oh God, I'm just excited that I'm not the only one.
I'm showing you that I understand. That's what I'm doing. Is this not how we human know?
There's the Hawaiians, they call it talk story. And I think that's so perfect to describe even neurodivergence. We talk story. We talk when we can't answer in a single sentence. We need to talk about experiences or colors or correspondences to relay one answer.
Yeah, I totally, I completely agree.
And that's why tarot is so great to use for us. And we're nosy as fuck, so we can.
Too. You get to cut through all of the kind of bitty small talk and get straight to, and how is your relationship with your mother? Like, that's where I live.
Yes.
I love it. That's what I do.
We get the gossip without saying we're not gossipy.
No, it's not, because we have the cards, therefore it's not gossip. It's, magic. It's fine. And if the cards are saying, you know, your landlady's a bitch, then it's not me, it's the cards. But
can't be held accountable for my responsibilities.
Exactly. You know, and in Britain, you know, we have to say, like, for entertainment purposes only. Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? Yes.
But no, it's a shame when people don't understand that it's like a difference in communication, and if the way we're doing it is not comfy for you, then just let us know. You don't need to just write us off. Just say, and then we'll try and adapt, and you can maybe try and meet us part way. And that's how it works, rather than just being like, no, you're terrible because you interrupt too much.
Then some people won't listen to advice unless it's through tarot. So sometimes you got to bring out the cards and say the exact, you got to find how to say it through the cards, and hopefully, but a lot of times the cards do lay down and they don't lie anyway, and you can get out what you need to.
Yeah, so I have a friend whose thing is just like, there is no such thing as a chill tarot reading. And I think there sometimes there can be, but more often than not, the cards are just like, they're just getting right to the core of the issue, and they do not mess around.
No, they don't. I had one lady I read, and it was one of my last few readings before I shut down my store. She goes, whatever, and she just right away, I felt her energy in 2 sentences, and she's like, whatever you do, I don't want any angel bullshit. And that's when she paid for a reading, and I was like, whew. Okay, so I'll stay. I won't grab, because I actually did have a deck where it's just my angel cards, and they're absolutely lovely messages. So I'm like, all right. I just kind of thought, I don't have them here. Shit, they're an asshole deck, and they're like a deep dark deck, and I'm like, all right, bitch. And what do I pull? The dark angel card out of the entire deck, the one deck, and I'm like, this is something. And then I talked about it, and I talked about how it went, and then I put it down, and I kept going with the reading. She's like, bitch, I told you not to touch on the angel cards. I'm like, I literally grabbed my darkest deck. It's actually for shadow work. I wrote her, and the video camera was on. You couldn't see. I didn't
choose it out the deck.
Ready. That's what you needed to hear, because you didn't want to hear it. And I did, and I talked about some dark and energy work, and she's like, but the thing is, you kept going. She goes, I didn't pay you for that. And I'm like, well, that's why they call it absolute tarot, because I'm to the point. And she was very upset and says, well, someone recommended me to you, and I'm going to tell you who they are. And I'm like, doesn't matter who recommended me to you. I'm sorry, but I didn't plan this.
Yeah, right.
I talked about the negative side of this dark angel. I didn't even talk about a positivity. Like, she goes, but you kept going on it. That was it. She was pissed. She's like, I paid you for a reading. I'm like, I'll refund you. And that's the only time I ever wanted to refund. And she's like, nope, the rest of the reading was good. Thank you. Bye. And I'm like, what?
Oh, there's so much aggression to bring into something.
It was right from the beginning. She was very aggressive. So I was on the defense too.
Also, you just wonder, like, why are you here? Why are you in this space if you have such, like, if you're feeling so combative about this? Is this the right thing for you right now? What are you doing? If you're that angry already, is this the right?
And it came up.
Because of course they would.
And I never used that shadow deck. That was a dark deck. It literally was like, all right, bitch.
And you were just like, I didn't even know there was an angel card in here. I don't even believe that there is an angel card in here. It just.
I think it was a new deck at the time. I totally forgot.
And if you go back to that deck,
one
there
card
won't be an angel card in there. It will have just, magically appeared because the angels were like, you don't want to hear from us?
You need to hear this.
We've got something to say.
It's a little
picking a fight. You can't ignore us.
Right? It just made sense to me. Pissed her off, but it's what she needed.
Yeah. You can't really approach a tarot reading like that, of being like, but you can't pull this card. Okay, mathematically speaking, we should be okay, but universe speaking, it's 100% going to be one to pull over.
It's like Murphy's Law. I just heard data from Star Trek. The 1.5 million probability.
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. It's the weird thing that tarot does, is that it always does the thing that you either don't want it to do, or the thing you least expect it to do. Always.
Right? Yeah.
And it's, it's magic. If we understood it, it would be science.
Right? It's so cool. I love tarot.
It's amazing. And I think it's such a good like kind of gateway into understanding how little we understand about the universe, because once tarot has done that to you a handful of times, it's quite hard to ignore. Yeah.
Ignore it.
So what do
Exactly.
you wish someone had told you when you first got into tarot?
Put down the book. Try not, just because I had 3 books that came with my tarot deck, and they were little paperback books. Each one had a different flavor. And I was constantly in it. I didn't really know how to read because I was like, I didn't understand how tarot spreads work. I really enjoyed the Celtic cross spread because it gave you past, present, future, gave a little bit more insight, but it was so long to do. It's a half an hour to an hour spread. When you're reading from the book, you get bored. Then you're like in it for a couple of hours. So I didn't pick it up as much because I was having to read from the book. And we don't learn that way. No, it's not fun to learn that way. So once I just started looking at it like with colors and correspondences, that it opened up my world, and it just made things so much easier.
More fun and more kind of engaging and interactive. Yeah. I think that's really a good point. And I don't think I think that seems to be you were saying at the beginning about like when I finish doing all of these interviews, I'll have to pull out the commonalities. I think that is one commonality that's kind of emerging, is this kind of don't ignore the book, but ignore the book kind of thing. And like whether that's because it feels better to you to be working with tarot in a way that is more kind of channeling, or if it's kind of using your intuition or using the way that your brain already has these kind of frameworks in place and then kind of connecting onto it. That seems to be a thing for lots of people, is that actually the book probably thwarted me more than it helped me in the beginning.
In the beginning for me too. And a friend of mine recommended me the Tarot Bible. And I hate the word Bible, but the Tarot Bible was really good. And it gave so many different spreads that actually started to inspire me and help me understand for that. But I found when I'd watch a lot of videos on YouTube about each card. And then when I take notes, and then I started to find commonalities. So when I'd able to take the notes down, but just to read it out of the book, I wasn't I'd comprehend it, but it's just not as high as it would be.
Yeah, it just doesn't connect.
Tell me one I remember.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good piece of advice. And I think I love going, like, now that I feel, I don't know why I'm stumbling over that word, but like kind of more of a confident tarot reader. Like, yes, I'm a confident tarot reader. I do it professionally. Imogen, you need to believe that you're a confident tarot reader. Come on, self-talk. But now that I'm like more of a confident tarot reader, I love going into guidebooks for other people's perspectives and to know how other people read the cards that I have my own meanings for and stuff. But I think at the beginning, anything that kind of rigidly tells you this is the way and this is the only way, I think that for a lot of neurodivergent people, like you were saying about, having the word Bible in it or stuff, I think a lot of people are just like, whoop, miss me with all of that.
I wasn't at first until I picked up her book and looked at it, and I'm like, okay, it's just the name, just the title, don't be a dick.
So relatable, because my favorite, the deck that I use for the deck I use for professional readings is called Tarot of the Divine, and I thought it might be kind of Christian-y. Angelic, and I was a bit like,
Christian-y.
I don't think that's really where I'm going with that. And it was what's that, 4 words of a title, and I looked no further. And exactly, Imogen, don't be a dick, at least read the rest of the description. It's now the deck I use the most in my practice because it's the one that I use professionally. And it was just my kind of reflexive, like religious trauma, like, get it away from me. Like, don't. You're not back in school, you're an adult, you get to make your own choices, like, it's fine. But just that kind of...
You can take certain cards and you can just say it differently. Instead of say God, you can say gods when you read it.
Like, and just, and it's making it our own, isn't it? That we don't need to, it's the kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater thing. Like, there are lots of good things. We just get to pick and choose the ones that we want. And that's the beauty of our kind of shared spiritual practice of the kind of DIY spirituality thing, which is it's kind of the point, is that you don't have to follow any one strict thing.
I agree. And it's how, like we were saying, with the different cards, if this means this to you, but every time maybe you've pulled it in readings, it seemed to have an influence of this, and but when you look up the exact meaning, that's not what it means. But when you pull up that card, like Two of Pentacles, my friend of mine says that means balance to her, and I'm like, but he's off balance. He's got one foot up, one foot down. He's crooked here. It's not very balanced. She's like, oh, that's my balance card. That's my yin and yang card. I'm like,
Struggling
opposite
to
of mine.
balance card, like, you know, really
Yeah.
trying to keep the balance, but, you know, finding it very challenging. I think that's, yeah.
But when it works with her
Yeah.
cards, it makes sense when she reads.
Yeah. But that's why there's a reason for us all to be readers, and it's why I get readings from other readers, is because we all have our own totally unique way of doing it. Even if we've all read the same books or using the same deck or something, we're still going to have our own flavor to it because of our own experiences and our own particular neurotype and all of that stuff. And I think that that's wonderful. And like, there is no, yeah, I remember talking to someone being like, oh, there's so many tarot readers now, like, what do I have to kind of bring to the table? And I'm just like, well, the fact that you're you, kind of job done, half end of sentence. Like, that's, your perspective is inherently valuable.
Because it's not always a reading, it's the style of the reader and the reader itself. It's their personality.
If it's something that you want to do and you feel like you can do, then why not? You know? It's not like, I don't think we're ever going to reach saturation point of artists or singers or any other sort of creative.
No.
So like, why would we reach saturation point? Or, you know, writers or anything.
Right, and especially any creative outlet, and it's an art form, tarot reading. You have to be creative. Like you said, you're pulling from emotions, you're pulling from experiences, like you were saying, you know, you're bringing that all in, you're getting messages. I get pictures come in thought forms, and they're not always sentences. I'm like, okay, how do I translate that so they understand it?
Yeah, I think it's a very creative process. And I'm sure there are lots of people who disagree with me, but, you know, that's my perspective and my practice, is that it's a part of my creative life, is the kind of the storytelling aspect of tarot, I think. And that's, yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, and it helps us kind of make sense of things in the world by turning it into stories. And like you were saying about those kind of little kind of vignettes, little scenes, like movie scenes and stuff. And those, I think that's kind of made something kind of click in my brain of like another reason why it makes sense to me, and why like the things that I've used in my life to help me make sense of the world. So things like films and books, and it is just like another part of that. And I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, we talk story to help explain.
Oh, that's such a good phrase. So what would make the tarot community feel more inclusive or accessible for you?
As being a YouTuber, being accessible, I think I was bombarded by trolls and certain people in my rooms and stuff. So I really had to have a lot of moderators. We have a lot of Christians that were coming in, that it was the devil's work.
Good.
So when I did lives, I had 4 to 6 moderators. It was, as soon as you get to a certain, they are really against. So I think it needs to be seen a certain way. Like even when I had in August, I do markets as well, and I had some tarot cards out, and there's a lady like pointing at her older mother, and I'm like, there's a lot of buckles and Bibles there that day. A lot of big buckles on there.
Amazing.
Belt buckles.
I love that. I love that you've like combined the two as being, oh yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were pulling. There was one lady even pulled her kid away from my table. And I was like, oh wow. I only have I had some spell kits out, but they were candles.
Oh no.
I had jewelry and heathen.
But protect the children from the candles. You get candles in church. What are you on about? It's good to know about the needing moderators for live things though, because I forget about that. Like Scotland's kind of weird. There is like a long history of Catholicism versus Protestantism in like a big way, but also the witchcraft just runs really deep here, that like no one thinks it's weird. It's like it just kind of exists in tandem with these other aspects of kind of people are sort of like church on Sunday Christians, but not like, so, you know, you go to kind of, I do a witchy market in Edinburgh, like down the road from a church, never get any bother. Could do a pride parade and stuff, again, never any bother. There's like gay churches being like, yeah, pride.
Times are changing. It's wicked.
It's a really different feel here. Like, even I grew up near Glastonbury, which is like kind of hippie central of Britain, with like all these kind of magical hills and where all of the everything kind of pagan central of England is. And so I grew up around that as well. And so it's the idea that people are out here saying that that's bad when it's just people like dressed in colourful felt and just, you know, dancing around trees and things. And it's like, who are we hurting? Who are we hurting? We're just like putting bells and ribbons on things. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Free country.
You'd hope, anyway. Do you have any particular resources you would recommend for neurodivergent tarot readers?
I did enjoy the Tarot Bible, going back to that one. That one, because it's all colorfully labeled and it's all color coordinated. And they have, the pages are really laid out, easy to read, and the book is smaller, quite thick. But it's actually, so you're not holding a big book, and you can have it beside you when you're reading. And definitely like it because, like I said, all the colors that are in it, so they have it all color coordinated for all the different meanings and everything and archetypes. And then it goes into spreads and how to design your own spreads.
That's really helpful.
And definitely learn your astrology.
Yeah, it does help.
Which I think is learn your astrology. That'll open up the world, because then you use the archetypes and the elements in the deck. And I think it's easier to call upon that than having to just read from a book.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Do you have any cards that you think kind of you particularly associate with your experience of being neurodivergent?
I think would be the Spirit of Science Patch Tarot deck. It is the most amazing deck I own, and I own roughly, my last count was 112 decks. And I think that deck is one of my more expensive decks too. I waited 8 months. They had it on the one of the GoFundMes or something, so they had to wait until they had a certain amount of people ordered, and then they got them printed. So it took 8 months on top of the waiting plus a period. It has the illustrations in there are beyond incredible. There's so much symbolism. They comes with a book as well. But in each corner, it'll have the element, the astrology, the planetary ruler, and then it'll have a Hebrew symbol, and then it'll have reverse, and you can read it reversed and straight up too. But it's just, it's a ADHDer's neurodivergence dream, this deck. And I have it downstairs. I don't have it up here. I have it, think it in my room or something.
I'll look it up, and I'll try and remember to like put a picture up, or at the very least link it in the description. That sounds amazing.
It is probably the most phenomenal deck. You can pick it up and not know how to read tarot and read tarot.
I mean, that's quite that's a glowing review, really, because I don't know how many decks I can think of, so that would be the case for. So that's very cool. I think that's it. I think that's been such a great chat. Thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you for having me.
I will put all of your information below, and I'm gonna press stop recording. And that's it. Thank you so much again to Cara for chatting with me. It was so much fun. And thank you to you for watching and or listening. Links for Cara's stuff and my stuff will be in the description box below. I hope you're taking really good care of yourself, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.